I need help identifying a creature. Okay X, this was a while ago, and I posted here about this already, but I am thinking about heading up to the area again, and I want to be prepared this time. Anyway, for some details. This happened to me roughly in the 1990s. I am quite a fan of big game, and travel from flyover state to flyover state just to hunt some cougars, or just about anything that makes me feel like a man. I've been fairly successful, and had a few close calls, many just involving being seen by a big cat, or on a trip to Africa, I got a bit manhandled by a gorilla. So in essence, I would consider myself a thrill hunter. Because of all of the hunts I have been on, the only thing I ever bring home is meat for consumption, or a new rifle, and a few good stories. Anyway, I am on a hunt in Western PA, my home state, just plucking around for deer, sitting in a tree stand, thinking about how I can afford to get out on my next big trip. So naturally, I am getting antsy just before lunch, and I decide to start walking around. The snow is that real crunchy stuff that you only get after it thaws and refreezes, so walking quietly is downright just not happening. Because of this, I shoulder my 3006 and decide to just enjoy the views of PA, because I sure as hell ain't sneaking up on anything. I slowly fall into the rhythm of listening to my feet crunch the snow a few times, then stopping, scanning, and repeating. I eventually get to that point where you know you're about to sweat, so I found a nice fallen tree and sat down, hoping to avoid getting soaked with soon-to-freeze sweat. I sit down and work on breathing slowly while looking around. The sweats are still coming, and I feel like I am being roasted alive in my heavy coat. As I sit there, I get more and more flustered. My breathing will not slow down, and I am sweating like a madman. I catch my eyes flicking from side to side, even though I don't hear or see anything. During all of this, my heart is beating out of my chest, and I can barely keep myself still. The only noise I can hear is my damn heart at this point, and I'm about to start praying that I am not having a heart attack. Is 30 too early to have a heart attack? I remember thinking. The sound of my heart suddenly cuts off, and I am left in the middle of the open PA forest in dead silence. It feels like someone pulled this claustrophobic box off of me, and for the first time since the panic attack, I can see stuff more than 10 feet away from me. That's when I hear the birds start up again. I hadn't even realized that the birds were quiet. I didn't think much of it at the time. I made it back to the small lodge for lunch, telling myself that I should warm up and put on a new undershirt after all of that. For some reason, after I finished lunch, I found my eyes darting around again. Without warning, the sweat start up again, and I get all flustered. I spend the next few minutes genuinely contemplating driving to a hospital and explaining to the physician on why I think I was having hot flashes, despite not being a woman or experiencing menopause. I settle with calling it a day and getting a good night's sleep. The sleep goes fine, and the next morning, I feel like $1,000,000. I grab my rifle and my gear and head out to the tree stand at the ass crack of dawn. It's still pretty dark. When I get to my tree stand, the entire place is covered in tracks. I mean, if you can even call them that. The snow in a 10-foot radius around my stand is dug up, and all of the snow is overturned. It was dark, and I really was just ready to settle in, but the tracks were weird and piqued my interest. While it made sense, I couldn't find a distinct print in the center. I could not find a single distinct hoof print near the edges either. Now, this was not the only time deer have made a mockery of my hunting places, so I figured just a whole bunch of deer had come by, found my scent, and expressed their displeasure by stamping to try and get me to show up. Deer do this more than you would think. Whatever, at least deer are here. I headed up the ladder, trying my best not to eat shit while climbing, as my boots are slipping all over the place. I get settled in, and sit for another 4 hours before I decide to change things up. As I am almost all the way down the tree stand's rungs, I misplace my foot on the last step and fall on my ass. Cussing and swearing, I pick myself up and look at the last rung on the ladder. Bloody deer velvet was all over it. It takes me a few moments to pull this shit off of the ladder, and it comes off in big pieces, naturally getting blood all over my hands, but thankfully, I had the peace of mind to take off my gloves to avoid dirtying them. Looking at the semi-bloody mess, something looks weird about the deer velvet. I shake off the feeling and decide to go down to the lake at the bottom of the valley to wash my hands off, it being more of an excuse to just get up and move. It feels good moving around again, and with my gloves off, I don't feel like I'm overheating. That's when I got down to where the creek meets the lake. God, what a sight. The way the sun hits the semi-frozen water. Beautiful. It took me a few minutes to wash the blood off of my hands, mostly because I could not stop admiring the scenery while I warmed my hands in between dips. After a while, I decided to start making my way around the lake, just to give me a reason to stay there longer. It takes nearly 45 minutes to get most of the way around, and I stop to take a breather. Looking across the water again, I suddenly feel hot. My entire body goes into panic mode, including heavy sweating. I start to think it was my shitty cholesterol catching up to me. That's when the echoes of the birds stopped in a wave, the far-away chirping becoming alarmed, then falling silent as the warning call reverberated along the edges of the lake. I have never, and I mean never, heard a warning call result in this kind of silence. For a hawk or some aerial predator? Sure, maybe a call would go out to alert the other birds, but this was eerie. I just thank my lucky stars that I heard it this time. Looking across the lake, I saw something big coming out from under some low-growing pines. I had to be at least 300 yards away from this thing, but looking at it had me frozen. Its back was a dark color, or maybe it was just the shadows cast on it, but its general frame was still visible. At first I think cougar, but I don't think I would be sweating bullets for a mildly large cat. I keep on looking. My brain actually starts working again, and I realize I have a scope on my rifle. I try to move, but nothing. My eyes are locked on this thing across the lake. It makes its way out to the water, its face bathed in sunlight for the first time. I nearly choke at the sight of it. It's not a cougar. Screw this. Its face was much too long for a cougar, its jaws extending too far out from its face. Its front legs were too long and sinewy. I could not take my eyes off of it, let alone start to move. I watch as it makes its way to the water, expecting it to drink. It keeps its face close to the ground as it pads towards the edge. The thing barely hesitates at the water, before making its way around the perimeter of the water, all the while keeping its head close to the ground. I feel the blood drain out of my face as I realized where it was. It had come out of the same place that I just was roughly 30 minutes ago. Something felt wrong, really wrong. When you see big game, you get an exciting feeling. At least I do. For a second you lock eyes and think, either of us could be prey if the other makes a wrong move, and it's exhilarating. When I looked at this thing, I knew that there was only one predator here, and it definitely was not me. The gun on my back felt way too small all of a sudden, as if on cue, the thing pulled its head up and it scanned along the lakeside. I did not waste any time waiting for it to see me. I ran, because something told me that was all I could do. For minutes, the only noise was my feet crushing through the snow. I knew that if it followed my scent, it would take the long way around the lake, so the moment I made it behind the tree line, I started booking it, running straight for the cabin. My only hope being getting back to the cabin before it covered the distance between us. That's when I heard it again, the sound of birds, but behind me. I stopped, and I did the smartest thing I have ever done in my life. I listened. Dead silence ahead, birds singing behind me. The thing had doubled back to cut off my escape route. I didn't have time to think about how smart it was. I took off away from the lake, a new direction altogether. 10 minutes, 30 minutes, I don't know. But as seconds ticked by, I felt like the distance between us was nearly gone. I was getting desperate. That's when I saw one of the landmarks I used for navigating the area. A small collection of shale that had broken off of the mountain and formed a small cave against the cliffside. Frantically, I pulled myself into it. Every second that a millimeter of me was outside of the space made me feel vulnerable. By some miracle, the crawl space opened up into a larger space, barely enough for me to turn around. I pulled the rifle off of my shoulder and pointed it at the opening. I waited for the sound of crunching snow, the inevitability of this thing poking its face in here. I gripped my rifle like I was strangling it. I swore to myself I would fire every damn round I had into this thing, and for the first time in my life, hang an animal on the wall. My thoughts felt empty, as if I wasn't sure I could pull the trigger when the thing came. I don't know how long I spent in there, or how many times I kept feeling like a Neanderthal, cornered in a cave, fearful of the unknown outside in the dark. By the time night fell, I could not hold the rifle any longer, my hand crammed in a claw shape. It took me a few minutes to wrestle my coat off, as the small space had grown kind of warm. It took me even longer to convince myself I could set the rifle down and settle in for a long wait. I don't know when it happened, but I must have fallen asleep. That's when I felt something moving under me. I groggily sat up, completely exhausted. Again, a small tug. My eyes shot open, and in the pitch black I could smell something awful. It smelled like pennies were being crammed up my nose. The moment I made a noise, I heard a ripping noise and felt the jacket torn out from under me. Some stupid part of me decided to reach out and grab at the jacket. My fingers clamped onto fur, but not the kind lining my jacket. Tough, coarse, shaggy fur. I wanted to cry as I grabbed the rifle and fired off every shot I had into the place I thought the arm had come from. Fire, work the bolt, repeat. I was nearly deaf as the muzzle flashes ceased. I mechanically continued pulling the bolt back and pulling the trigger, over and over. I don't know why, I just kept doing it, all the way until morning. Clack, clack, click, over and over. I found myself rocking back and forth when morning came. I waited another few hours, all the way until the birds started singing, and at that time, they may as well have been angels. Pulling myself out of that hole, I found pieces of my jacket littering the snow, and the few extra rounds I kept in the pockets were scattered about as well. Like a robot, I picked up one of them, fed it into the rifle, and shouldered it. I only needed one, because if the birds stopped, I was not going through hiding again. I just hoped I wasn't going to be shaking bad enough to miss my own head. I don't even remember the walk back. It seems more like a feverish dream now. I got to my cabin, never looked past the broken door. I just got in my truck and drove away. I swore to everything I was never going back there, but curiosity got the better of me. I came back with a few friends who didn't know a lick of what happened on the pretense that something broke in and I needed some backup, just in case they were still there. The only thing damaged was the front door. And the coat rack next to it. We cleared the house, made sure nothing was taken, and left. A few of them asked me why I wouldn't sell it to them when I did put it up for sale the following summer, and I gave them some half-baked story about termites. I could not let anyone I know back in those damn woods, but some small part of me wants to check in. The big game side of me wants to buy the biggest elephant gun I can fire without dislocating my shoulder and take 5 or so friends to see what we find. The only thing stopping me is the little scared part of me that never left that shale cave, still racking that slide back and forth, just waiting helplessly for the birds to start singing again. Alright then boys, here we go. I could not find my pictures from the tower during the day because the phone I had at the time bricked apparently. The picture is from a nearby dam, and like I said, nothing too exciting, just some shit scene. Be me, combat engineer in East Afghanistan. My platoon got pulled from our job of route clearance to doing Guardian Angel, babysitting advisors at COPs and FOBs all over RC East. In December of 2018, a couple of months of running these missions at a tiny abandoned COP called Naglu up in the mountains. My squad plus PSG, 2 infantry squads, and the advisor team. An SF team came too, but as soon as we got there, they fucked off to kill things I guess, and we did not see them again until exfil. We air assault in on Chinooks and clear the abandoned COP and occupy it. We divvy up guard shifts and towers. My squad has only one, since the infantry was there just to do security, and our job was to guard the advisors. I decided to pull middle of the night shift to at least give each of my Joes 4 hours of uninterrupted sleep, like 1 to 2 or 1 to 3 a.m. As our time there continues, we do a few missions, talking to ANA and locals. Pull my guard shifts and start noticing things through my thermals. PVS 20s, combo MVG and thermals, while staring off into the nearby ridges and hills. I see shambling figures on the hills which made no sense at that time of night, miles away from the nearest village. Afghans are a superstitious bunch. There is no reason for them to be out there. There is no tactical movement or normal human walking for that matter, just this weird shambling. I asked PSG, who had been on 2 prior deployments, what it was. He says not to worry about it, just some asshole screwing around. We get pulled out of there early about 10 days later because snowstorms were coming in, I guess, and go back there for a couple days, missions after. I see posts a few months back about zombies in Afghanistan, and it clicks. That place has seen hundreds of years of hatred and arms. It's not unbelievable that some of that shit somehow manifests. Like I said, not fancy or exciting, that is just what I saw. Hey, hope you've enjoyed the story so far. If you want to hear more, make sure to subscribe, like the video, and leave a comment because it lets YouTube know you like the content and helps more people to see these videos. My next big goal for the channel is 100,000 subscribers, and as a celebration, I will be doing a Q&A video once we hit that goal. Thank you, and back to the stories. So, a little bit of background. This happened about 8 years ago in Leafland on Vancouver Island, where I moved in with my mom for a short period of time when I was 12 years old. Her side of the family lived on the island, while we lived on the mainland. Now, my grandfather was in the army when he was alive, and he left quite a few guns behind. Sadly, I was not old enough to go hunting with him while he was still alive. Okay, on to my story. It was summer break, and I had just graduated from elementary school. After the shitty little ceremony, my mother told me that my Uncle John wanted to take me hunting. I had shot a rifle a few times before, but this would be my first time ever actually shooting at a living thing, so I was pretty nervous but also a little bit excited. The day finally arrived, and my uncle picked me up in his truck. We were going to a pretty big stretch of woods, and we would be camping there for 3 days. The only supplies we had with us were some basic rations, water, and 3 rifles. I'm not exactly a commander, so I can't really tell you the make and model of them, but I know that we had 222s and 1.308. From my experience with shooting the .308 and getting knocked on my ass, I asked my uncle what we needed such a powerful gun for. He said it was just in case we saw a bear, but something in his voice told me he was not telling the whole truth. My grandfather was a very spiritual man, and I'm inclined to believe that he passed down some of his stories and beliefs to his children. My mother has had an out-of-body experience and seen a few ghosts, but those are different stories for another day. I am half Cree Aboriginal on my father's side, so I had heard of stories of the things that stalk the Canadian wilderness. We unpacked our stuff and started looking for a good spot to set up camp. After about a half hour of searching, we found the perfect spot of flat earth. We set up camp and loaded our rifles before heading out to try and bag a deer or something. The first day was completely uneventful, and we ended up just catching some fish with sharpened sticks and ate those. I had a feeling I would be sick of fish by the end of this. I'm a fairly light sleeper, so it's no surprise that I woke up in the middle of the night. I rubbed my eyes and sat up in my tent, realizing I had to piss. I moved to unzip my tent flap, but stopped as I heard something outside. I heard the sound of footfalls and quiet, ragged breathing. Like an idiot, I assumed it was my uncle, and slowly zipped down the flap on my tent. I zipped it down just enough for me to peek outside to see if my uncle was still out there, as I needed privacy to pee. What I saw out there was not my uncle. It probably stood at about 7 feet tall, as it was taller than our tents, and had oily black fur that glistened in the moonlight. I let out a low whimper and slowly zipped my tent back up. The breathing stopped for a second, and then it started to get closer. When it was mere inches away from my tent, the breathing stopped. For a few seconds, I thought the thing had left, and I just didn't hear it because I was so afraid. Then, it began to press its face against my tent. Judging from the outline, it had a muzzle that was slim like a fox, but it was much longer. It was at this point that I noticed how much this thing reeked. Being a sheltered city kid, I had never had to smell anything dead before, but as I've come to learn, that is what the thing smelled like. It smelled like the corpse of a skunk that was left to bake in the summer sun for a week. I curled up in my sleeping bag and covered my head, hoping it would leave. After what felt like an eternity, the thing skulked back into the woods. At this point, I no longer needed to pee. After changing my pants and getting a restful half hour of sleep, my uncle came to wake me up. As we went to leave, he stopped and looked at the side of my tent. Danny? What the hell is that stain? I asked him what he was talking about, and he pointed to a slightly red stain on the side of my tent. It looked like saliva. My uncle went up to the stain and tried to get a whiff of it. He stood up and crinkled his nose before going and retrieving the .308. I did not bother asking why. I wasn't having fun anymore. I just wanted this trip to be over and to go home, but my uncle wanted to at least stay for one more day. That day, we actually ended up killing something. My uncle borrowed my .22 and shot a goose right out of the sky. I was pretty impressed and excited that we would be eating something that was not fish. I was pretty disappointed when I learned that the goose had been mainly eating fish and ended up tasting like them too because of it. My uncle had been pretty quiet the whole day, so I was surprised when he looked at me and asked me, "Danny, have you ever seen something that you just can't explain? Something that should not exist in this world?" I lied and said no, but I am sure he did not believe me. "I am going to try and get us something for dinner, but I am going alone. Do not follow me. If I am not back within the hour, call the police on my phone." After that, he set up a fire and left. I began to get impatient, so I started looking for games to play on his phone. It was a shiny little BlackBerry, so the best I could get was solitaire. However, I did not get to play long before I heard rustling in the brush near the fire. I grabbed my .22 and aimed toward the noise and saw the creature from before. It made frantic, gibbering noises, like it was trying to communicate, before running away from the camp, leaving a trail of black blood behind it. It turned out that my uncle had shot the thing, but it ended up running away. About a half an hour later, my uncle came back to camp, covered in cuts and bruises. "Come on, let's pack up our stuff. We are leaving." I asked why, and he told me it was not safe there anymore. We drove back to my place in relative silence until he dropped me off and drove back the way he came. My uncle never came out of those woods, and his body has not been found. I miss that old bastard. I have never told this one before. This happened to me when I was 7 years old. I was camping down in a caravan park in Devon, in the UK. I am there with my brother and 2 cousins, 2 males. It's around 11 o'clock at night. It's late September, so it's pitch black outside. My parents are in a different caravan to us in another field. We are all playing Pokemon and watching the TV, just pissing around. I am sat closest to a window, the blinds are drawn. I see a shadow quickly shift across it. I assume it was just my cousin as she left the bathroom. Mate number 1 says, "Hey, wanna go outside and hunt ghosts?" We were all under 12, so we did it like the little idiots that we were. I was the first to exit the caravan. I feel something. You ever get those gut feelings where you're about to enter a really bad area, or you are alone in the dark, and your brain just keeps telling you to get the hell out of there? I pretty much felt that, but greatly increased. I tell everyone that we should not go outside. They all ask why not. Since they wouldn't believe me otherwise, I just tell them I am too scared. Alright then, Anon. We will go back inside. I linger at the doorway for a bit. I look at the streetlights. All but the one closest to our caravan shut off. I hear thumps on the grass around me. I run back inside, like Sonic. I shut the door. I lock it quickly. I go join my mates again. I still feel creeped out. Something starts hitting against the awning. These are like big tents that attach to the caravan as a sort of porch or secondary room. Something is hitting it from all sides. We are all scared now, despite being in the caravan. I hear the zip from the door start to get pulled. Something is brushing against the walls of the awning door, coming in. I hear my parents laughing from down the street. They are obviously all drunk. I hear whatever it was scrambling out of the awning, leaving the door unsealed. Parents get in. "Hey guys, hey, why the bloody hell is the awning open?" Cousins say we went outside to go to the communal toilets. There was only one in the caravan, and you could not shit in it. Go back home the next day. I never thought I'd tell this story in fear of being called a madman. This happened to me around when I was 21 years old. I was doing summer school, and one of 3 people still staying in the dorms. I'm a big horror movie fan. In one night, I could watch The Exorcist, Blair Witch Project, Hills Have Eyes, and still sleep like a baby. I hear Exorcism of Emily Rose is legit scary and based on a true story. I torrent that shit and watch it on release day. I thought the movie was good, but I doubted the realism. I spent all night googling photos, case files, listening to the actual exorcism tapes, reading autopsy reports, shit posts about it online. I wake up the following night, smelling a weird decomposing smell from the common bathrooms. The next day, I feel an eerie, somewhat off-putting feeling as I get ready for bed. I wake up at exactly 3 a.m, just like in the movies, but nothing is there. The next day seems pretty normal. I end up watching stuff online till like 1 a.m, and then I turn into bed. I have horrible nightmares about random stuff I can't remember, but I remember seeing some shadowy presence approach the foot of my bed. Half asleep, I slightly open my eyes, and from the corner of my eyes, I see a shadowy presence standing there, just like in my dreams. I bolt up and leap out of my bed and run out the door. Sure enough, it was 3 a.m. when it happened. I think to myself, what the fuck? I slept at 1 a.m. Why the hell did I wake up at 3 a.m? The same thing happens the following night. I dream of a shadowy presence in different parts of my dorm room, and my eyes will focus on it when I wake up. Some nights I would feel this rising sense of fear, like I don't belong in my own dorm room. It would feel like a sense of panic, like when you are swimming underwater and feel that you can't get to the surface in time for a breath. I am legit scared now. I decide to just stay awake in my room until 3 a.m. and then go to sleep. I have my windows open. I have my clothes hung under my shelf, billowing in the wind. I have lights on. Everything seems fine. When it's 3 a.m, all of a sudden the wind stops blowing. It is quiet to the point where you could hear a pin drop. My room is completely still. None of the clothes move, which was odd. Surely the momentum would keep going. The lights go out, and I swear I could see a shadowy figure in front of my door. I scream like a girl and make a run for the door. I run outside and wait till I can no longer hear my heartbeat in my ears. An hour passes, and soon I return to my dorm room. I check the lights. The things still work. I take my pillow and my blanket and head to the common TV room downstairs. It's cold as hell down there, but I get some sleep. I decide to sleep in the TV room, but security gives me shit for sleeping there. I return to the room and decide to stay closer to the door. The following night, it happens again, and again the following night. My nightmares get more gory and violent, which is weird, since I hate gore and avoid gory movies. My grades plummet for summer school. I have some BS computing assignment to do. Fucking binary trees. My dreams soon settle on one dream. I have the same exact dream for 1 month. I dream I'm in a dilapidated abandoned house. The rooms go on forever. Through the cracks I see a demon, like the Diablo 1 covers. He pokes holes into the house with his claws and is screaming out for my soul. In my dreams, he is only minutes away from getting it. He seems to crack the back of my skull and pull out my soul like wispy smoke, but I would struggle to hold on to it. I wake up in a pool of sweat, conveniently pulled up behind my head. One night, I thought I heard a girl singing and dancing outside my window. I could only catch a glimpse of her, but she disappears. I post on Reddit, something awful, miscellaneous, and 4chan. I get shit advice and get called a pussy. One site asked me if I'm religious, and if not, I should be. The dreams and encounters become more frequent. I wake up with growing panic that makes me bolt out of the room. Every night I smell decomposing flesh from the bathrooms outside. I sleep in my friend's room, the TV room, but I always have to head back because I have a fucking CS assignment to finish. I decide I should tackle it head on. I start looking up exorcism sites in different cultures and religions. I am a Muslim and find that 9 out of 10 sites want me to convert. You are being spiritually attacked because you are not a Christian. Screw that. I find a Muslim discussion board where they talk about exorcisms. I learn a phrase to free oneself from spirits and jinn. I follow the steps and feel that nothing happens. I go to the next page. I see a reply to the incantation post. Apparently, that incantation relieves you of your friendly jinn, assigned at birth to protect you from spiritual attacks. What have I done? The spiritual attacks continue to be much worse. My friends come back from holidays. Bro, you look like shit. When was the last time you slept? The fuck? I've been fucking haunted for the past 3 months. What do I do? Friends from different religions hold prayers in my room. I'm a rational guy, social, respected among my friend circles. People genuinely want to help. I sleep on the floor in their rooms. I finally go back. Starting praying 5 times, still don't find my inner peace. I continue to see the same messed up dream. I can't take it anymore. My grades are ruined. I failed summer school. I move out and move back in with my family. Nothing ever happened again. I never saw a scary movie since then. Friends made me rewatch Emily Rose with them. Nothing ever happened after watching it. I find out that some guy had taken his own life in our dorm, but it wasn't in my room. Screw it. I am never going back there again.